Hello and welcome to the ROKER RAPPORT podcast in association with Sunderland Community Soup Kitchen. My name's Rich Spate and I'm joined down the line today from Dublin by Mike Dunn. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, Rich. A little bit tired after watching that snooze fest there for the last 2 hours, but other than that, I'm okay.
And we've also got down the line at a very reasonable hour of about 11 o'clock in Australia, we've got Martin Wanless. How are you, Martin?
I'm alright, mate, yes, into the playoffs.
I know. Yeah, let's be positive. We've finished in a good position. We've finished fourth in the league. I think if you look at our record over the season, it's 23 wins, 17 draws and 9 losses. And we finished fourth on goal difference from Lincoln City. So we'll be playing Lincoln City away first, and then we'll be playing at home in the second leg. So a decent result overall for the season, especially when you consider where we were at just before Christmas time. Is that? Do you agree with that, Mike? That despite the bit of a bore draw today, we can't be too downbeat?
Not at all. No, I suppose as you just said, before Lee Johnson came in, it wasn't looking great at all. And in fairness, you have to give him credit. The job he's done has been amazing. I think obviously a few weeks ago we all got a little bit excited when we could smell the automatics there. But if over in the overall season now, playoffs, you'd absolutely take it. And you'd have to say you nearly fancy your chances against any of the teams that are left there now. So especially with no Portsmouth or Charlton. So no, it's been a good season overall.
Yeah, can't complain really, Martin. Do you agree that it's a decent finish to the season in terms of our league position?
I think, finishing fourth in a 3-horse race isn't going to have anybody too ecstatic at that, is it? But look, we've finished in the playoffs. We've got the what I think is the best position in the playoffs. At the start of the day, I would have took fourth ahead of third. And call me mad, but Lee Johnson's checking his phone during the game, and he might have been thinking the same. We started to kick into action a little bit when Blackpool scored. But look, obviously we'd have taken on anybody who we got there. But to me, what we've ended up with, and obviously we'll delve into the game, and it wasn't the best of games at all, was it? But where we've ended up with at the end of the game, in terms of position, in terms of the playoff opponents, in terms of how we have those 2 fixtures. We've got a Saturday afternoon game at the stadium I like to look forward to in the second leg. And I think it's ended up actually the best scenario that it could have ended up.
Yeah, I think avoiding that team that's just squeezed into 6th in Oxford might well be a really good thing.
I couldn't have bared having Carl Robinson's face in the stand, glaring in his bloody Scouse accent. Oh, man. That's worth avoiding just on its own, I think.
Well, that was the bit of news just before kickoff, wasn't it? That Robinson's been banned for 4 games, and they will cover the playoffs. And also, Jamie McAllister's received a ban as well. He wasn't on the touchline today for Sunderland, so maybe that's a good one to have avoided them. You never know, we might find them at Wembley with us. But let's look at this game. And we're kind of avoiding talking about it, aren't we? Because it was not the most entertaining early afternoon game we've ever seen. But just looking at the lineup, it was quite a strong one. It was actually looked quite close to what Lee Johnson might consider his best 11. So he started with Burge in goal, and then Hume and McLaughlin at full back, with O'Nien and Wright continuing the partnership in the middle. It was Scowen and Power in centre and midfield, with Diamond on the right, Jones on the left, and Gooch sitting behind Charlie White. What did you think of that lineup, Mike? Were you surprised that there weren't more changes? We didn't see some kind of younger players given a shot? Or do you think it was all about trying to keep that momentum going in the lead up to the playoff games?
Yeah, it was hard to know what Johnson was going to do really before the game. I thought he might have gone with a few changes, maybe give some lads minutes who haven't really started games lately, but he went the opposite way. And as you said, Rich, he probably went nearly as full strength as possible. We kind of missed Stewart after his performance last week against Plymouth. He was really, really good, because I think the way he stretched the play last week really suited our game. But overall, maybe Johnson was trying to get a comfortable victory today, considering we're playing Northampton, and as you said, build some momentum into the playoffs. But that looks like it could be as strong as it could be for the playoffs going forward. And I think some lads needed the minutes, the likes of Bailey Wright, Hume. It was good to get them the game time. But obviously some lads might be thinking now that they didn't perform very well today, and there could be changes going into the playoff game against Lincoln.
It was certainly disappointing performance overall, wasn't it, Martin? I mean, we got into a lot of decent areas throughout the game, really, from start to finish. We were getting the ball wide, we were getting the ball, 25 yards out with an opportunity to get the ball in the box, but we weren't creating much. What do you think needs to change for us to kind of start creating more kind of clear-cut, proper chances, Martin?
I think throughout the whole season, whenever we've played a team who sits back and puts 11 men behind the ball, we've struggled to break them down. And you look at Wigan at home, Plymouth at home, Northampton away. I think it was at Wimbledon at home, or MK Dons at home, Burton at home. We've had a continual struggle, and it's been a recurring problem that we just can't break teams down if we have a lot of possession there behind the ball. Today, I thought the centre midfield was really to blame for a lot of that. I think they put a lot of great work in off the ball, but in terms of on the ball, they were passing backwards and sideways, and they weren't progressing up the field with the ball, and they weren't trying to make adventurous passes to sort of spring them and get in behind them. And, looking into the playoffs, chances are we're not going to come up against a team like that. We play our best football when we, it's not necessarily teams going at us full pelt, but when teams are prepared to give as good as they get. And I think in the playoffs, although they'll probably be tight, cagey games, we might do a bit better. But I think we, as we said there, we had a lot of possession. We controlled the game to an extent. They didn't look like scoring too much until they did, which is often the case when you're in a situation like that, isn't it? But it's that it's not a surprise. That game today was not a surprise whatsoever. You've got a team in Northampton who have got nothing to play for. Pressure's completely off, and you've got our team, as Mike, you said, we've pretty much got that full strength side there. Maybe Diamond's the one you'd have a question mark about starting in the playoffs, but you've got 9 or 10 players there who are guaranteed to start if they're fit, regardless of what happened today. So, you're looking at avoiding suspension, avoiding injury, and, people might think, well, you just go out and bloody win and do it and be professional. At the back of your mind, regardless of how much you try for it not to be a factor, you're going to be concerned about getting that knock, getting a red card, and missing out on those 3 games. So, it's just a shit game to analyse. It's a shit game to delve into, but it is, isn't it? Because there's so much context to it that's unusual, and it's just a game that we had to get through unscathed. As I say, we've got the best possible outcome out of the game. The performance was crap. Yes, it was. We didn't threaten them. We should have. I was hoping it'd be a 5-0 massacre and we go in bouncing with confidence, but it rarely works out like that, does it? Certainly with us.
That's what I was expecting. I was kind of going into this. I spoke to my dad before the game. I was like, I think we're due skinning somebody, and maybe we're saving that up for the playoffs.
It would be nice, wouldn't it? But
it would be, wouldn't it? It would be nice. It would be absolutely lovely to go in and be comfortable going into the second leg, but I can't see that happening because we've spot Sunderland. But really, really quickly going over some of the major incidents in the game. The first half was reasonably dull. We got into some decent positions, but I think the only thing I've got marked down with stars in my notes was just before half time, Max Power had a shot that was set up nicely by Lyndon Gooch, and we had 9 corners. We were very, very, very wasteful, I think, in the first half. And the biggest incident, well, I guess the biggest talking point was whether Luke O'Nien had deliberately elbowed their player in the face. It was Danny Rose, wasn't it? Not that Danny Rose, the other Danny Rose. What do you think, Mike? I know Martin and I have disagreed on this on our group chat, but what do you think? Oh, you didn't see it, did you? You missed it.
So I missed it, yeah.
Have you seen the highlights of it?
I didn't see it, but from what I can interpret of O'Nien over the last few weeks anyway, and you were saying this, Rich, as well, I tend to agree with you. He is a little bit of a shithouse. He knows where to stick his elbow in. But again, it could have just been a clumsy challenge. Martin, you probably saw it better than me, but I think O'Nien is prone to leaving his elbow in. He likes to show he's around.
No, he does. Look, we've seen throughout the course of the season that O'Nien's very good at doing little niggly things that go unnoticed by the match officials. We've got a couple of goals from him blocking off runners and stuff, haven't we? So, but to me, that looked like one of those things where he's consciously defending rather than doing it subconsciously. So, he's got his arm out to steady himself to block the run of the defender. And he's consciously doing it. And, the trouble was there, he wasn't actually close enough to the defender to defend properly against him. So he ends up clattering him in the face. I don't think it was an intentional elbow, but it was certainly a very conscious arm across to stop him. So I think any penalty for that would have been extremely harsh, I have to say. And it's lucky he didn't get a yellow card, isn't it? Because he got one.
Well,
in the
yeah,
second half.
exactly.
Close, exactly, yeah.
That was the thing. You mentioned before people not picking up suspensions and keeping themselves on the park, and we didn't have the option to bring Luke O'Nien off, which I know would have been a possibility if there was a centre half on the bench after that one where Wright sold him short, and he kind of had to foul in the second half, didn't he? So just going over the second half action again, Gooch had a good chance just after half time. It was knocked down nicely by Charlie Wyke from a ball in. Gooch managed to get in front of the defender, but the goalkeeper, I thought, made a really good save down at Gooch's feet. And then, again, you had a shot from Aidan O'Brien over the bar on 69 minutes after Aid came on. And then really, the biggest chance before the goals was when Jordan Jones put the ball over the bar from a nice 1-2. Did you expect that to go in, Mike?
Yeah, you would have thought it as well. He did really well, good build-up play before then. And I could see after when he shot the ball, all the players around him throwing their arms in the air as well. It was a bad enough miss by Jones. But I think, as you said, second half overall, we huffed and puffed a lot. I do think Maguire and McGeady made a difference when they came on. But again, we never really had any clear-cut chances, and it was all just half chances. And that was probably the best of a bad lot nearly. And that's probably one thing that you little bit worried about going into the playoffs. We need to maybe be a little more clinical going into the playoffs with those goals. But yeah, then obviously after that we got our goal. Or we conceded our goal, and Bailey Wright got caught out, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. He got caught out. Give away a free kick. Martin, do you think there's any blame at all for Lee Burge about the goal going in? I mean, it took a wicked deflection off Grant Ledbetter.
Nah, it's just one of them, isn't it? Can't do much about it.
That's why I've got it noted down as it was. I mean, I thought he did great to get a tip onto it, to be honest. I don't think you can mark him down at all for that. But and it was literally, I think, one of the only touches he had other than kind of gathering the ball and distributing it. A couple of minutes later, Jordan Jones pops up with a ball that looks like it was aimed at the back post. It hit the back post, it hit the front post and bounced out to Carl Winchester, and he managed to poke it home. And after that, really, the game looked like a proper dead rubber at that point and fizzled out to a 1-1 draw. So let's quickly go through these player ratings, because, to be honest, I can see there have been lots of 5s and 6s amongst these. I'll start, as is customary, with Lee Burge. He had no chance for the goal. He hardly touched the ball for the rest of the game. I actually thought his distribution was reasonably well. I have no reason to knock him down from the average 6, so he gets a 6 from me. Mike, I'll come to you first, and I gave you Denver Hume.
Yeah, I thought he was neat and tidy today early on. He pushed forward well, which obviously he's good at. I was talking about that through the week on the website. It was a really good, brilliant, clean tackle about 15 minutes in that he did. It was really impressed with that. As again, linked up with Jordan Jones well at times as the game went on. I think really overall it's all positive for him, because it's just about minutes in the bank for him going into the playoffs. And I think he was probably one of our better players today, so I've given him a 6.5.
Yeah, I think that's really fair. I think Chris has gone with 7 actually on the site. Martin, Conor McLaughlin.
I'll come on to McLaughlin in a second. I just think one of the interesting things with Hume, right, is that like all of last season when he was playing, and obviously at the start of this season, he's been playing as a wing back, hasn't he? And that's where he's played the vast majority of first team football. So for him to come back from injury with all the expectation and having more defensive responsibility, I think that's a bigger challenge than people actually realise. And I think he's done really well so far. He's getting fitter and fitter. But as you say, that tackle that he put in at the start was just showed me that he's improving on that defensive side of things, where he hasn't necessarily had that responsibility too much.
I definitely. So McLaughlin.
Anyway, Conor McLaughlin. I thought he did all right. I think again, somebody coming back from injury. I think in the first 5 minutes I'd written down Cafu because he did a nice little spin, the turn. He did a little trick. I was like, we've got Cafu McLaughlin here.
You've nearly made me spit out my my Diet Coke there.
What a comparison.
Cafu.
He returned to type, didn't he? But no, look, I think he's doing all right. And look, I really hope he's fit for the playoffs because he's our only natural right back, and he looks like a natural League One right back. And look, he got caught out a couple of times, and he had two goes at somebody who's pretty lucky not to pick up a yellow card in the first half of those two fouls in very quick succession. But yeah, I just hope he wasn't. The timing of his substitution seemed a bit strange. Coming off 5 minutes after half time, I would have thought it was either at half time or after 60, But hopefully he hasn't. He
might have felt a knock or something there, I think.
Yeah, it looked as if he might have, which would be a concern, wouldn't it? But anyway, I've given him a 6.
Right, so I'll take Lugo 9. I thought it was steady away, actually. Other than being forced to take that yellow card in the second half, he was solid. I do think it was a slightly naughty that one in the first half as well. But in general, I've given him a 6. I don't think you can fault his performance today. And maybe just sometimes lacks that natural centre-back's positional sense. And that might be, as Martin suggested, might be why he gives away some of those naughty fouls as well, because he gets himself in the wrong position. So, Mike, I'm going to come to you for Bailey Wright.
Mixed bag, I thought, today. For a lot of the game, he didn't really have much to do. We were kind of dominant in possession, and there wasn't really any attacks on our goal. Obviously, the positive, it's all about minutes for him going into the playoffs. He had a good interception on the 35th, which kind of stopped a good counter-attack for Northampton. But then he was a little bit sloppy with the ball. His distribution wasn't great at times. I think it was 58 minutes he lost the ball on the edge of our box. And then obviously he gave the free away. So he got the yellow for that card as well, for the free kick. So I thought he was average enough today. I think he was a little bit exposed at times. Maybe it's just his lack of fitness, but hopefully that will come obviously with more game time. I've given him a 5.5.
Yeah, well, Chris has gone for a 4 on the website. And I think I tend to agree with Chris that he was the weak link in our defence. Anyway, Martin, Max Power.
I think he did an awful lot of great work off the ball, especially in the first half. He was very high on pressing the Northampton defence, and he was trying to encourage the team to get up there and press. But as I touched upon before, in terms of the control our centre midfield gets on the game, it was poor today. And I thought, we need more from Power. We need Power to be taking the game by the scruff of the neck and dominating things, and he's just not getting involved enough for me. We just need more. And, he's been shoved around, hasn't he? He's been right back and centre half, and he's gone back in midfield. So you can understand it a bit, but he's just not showing enough for what we need our central midfielder captain to show. So maybe harshly, I've gone for a 5 for Power because we need more.
Yeah, I thought it was a 5 or 6, and he was subbed on 65 as well. So it's a little bit difficult when someone comes off that early to give a fully rounded mark. And again, Josh Scow and I've got as well, and a very similar performance. I thought early on he looked really bright, and he burst through the middle on 8 minutes and looked like he was going to put in that kind of positive supporting midfielder performance that I've been looking for. I thought his pressing was good, but overall I thought he played far too deep, and that just left a big hole behind that front line. There seemed to be 20-30 yards where no Sunderland player was around in the centre of the park, so that was disappointing, but I guess that's part of how he's been asked to play, and I've given him a 6 for his overall performance. So I'll come to you, Mike, for Jack Diamond.
Yeah, I honestly thought he was probably our best player earlier on. He pressed well, he was tracking back, he was winning tackles at our own box. He's very positive, taking his men on. Obviously his final ball is very hit and miss, but he gets you onto your edge of your seat. And I think as he gets older with more game time, his consistency will come. There was one chance I think he was very hesitant on the edge of our box when he should have shot a lot earlier than he did after a good link-up play with Charlie Wyke. And I mean, I think that was a good opportunity for us in the first half. He was obviously taken off at half time, but I thought at times he looked good, but it was a mixed bag again. I've given him a 5.5 too.
I think that's pretty fair. And on the other wing, Martin, was Jordan Jones, involved in a lot of what happened today, wasn't he?
He wasn't. I have to say, Jones confuses me a bit as a player. We've had, and I have to admit, I'd never seen him play really before he came to Sunderland. I'd never seen him play for Rangers or up in Scotland. But all the reports suggested he was a left winger who liked to cut inside and dangerous from that position. And to me, he looks lost when he plays on the left. He drifts inside. He struggles to get involved in the game. And I thought first half he had a couple of dangerous moments. He had a shot early on, I think, didn't he? But he struggled to get involved. And I thought second half he was by far our best player. I thought he was our biggest threat. Yes, he absolutely should have scored, shouldn't he? But if we were going to do anything, it was going to come through him. And as Mike said earlier, we need to find different ways of scoring. And our default way of trying to score is get the ball out wide and clip a cross in. We saw it when McGeady came on. Everything went down the left, clipped in to the cross. And that chance that Jones missed was a rare occasion when we actually went through the centre, played a quick 1-2 and tried to create a bit of space going through the middle of the park. And I was really impressed with him in the second half, although it wasn't a perfect performance by any stretch. Not everything came off. But if anything was going to happen, it was going to be through him, and that's exactly what happened. That was a cross, I think, to O'Brien at the far stick, and as you say, it bounced off one post onto the other. But that was a really dangerous ball to come in from him, and I don't think we've got that many players who could do that at that point in the game. So it was a mixed bag. But you look at other performances that Jones has put in for us down the right, and I can think of two goals instantly where he's whipped crosses in from the right, one a pinpoint cross and one where he's dribbled in from the right and played the ball into Gooch to score. And to me, he just looks far more dangerous there than just anywhere else in the pitch. And I think if you're looking for things to pick up from this game to take into the playoffs, one of them big things is that Jones has to start on the right hand side of attack through the playoff series. Anyway, Mark, that was a long monologue without giving you a mark. 7. I've gone for
7. Oh, I think that's fair enough. I had 6 in the first half. I think you got 6.5 in the end from me, and yeah, I think he's been given a 6 by Chris as well. So Lyndon Gooch, I thought he was really good. Actually, I thought he put in some great crosses. He did seem to disappear during parts of the game. He was switched now and again with Jones when Jones came in the middle. And I thought Gooch played really well and actually went to right back or right wing back, whatever you want to call it, in the second half. I think that versatility is an absolute, massive positive for the team. And overall, I thought he was the bright spark in Sunderland's side, along with Jones, and I've given him a 7. So Charlie Wyke is the last of the starting 11, and you can have him, Mike.
Yeah, looked a little lethargic to me today. He didn't really get into the game at all. I suppose we didn't really get many crosses into him in the first half, especially, which obviously didn't help, because that's his strength. Again, I didn't really stretch defenders. Something I'm contrasting with Ross Stewart last week, which I thought was really good. I just think he was a little too static, really, and he didn't give us an option up top. He had a good knockdown for Gooch's chance in 48, was probably the best moment of the game for him. But overall for White today, I was disappointed with him. I gave him a 5.
Yeah, Chris has gone with 4. I thought he was a 5 was a fair enough mark, but you can see why you'd go one lower than that, because his real contribution to the game was pretty much minimal before he came off on 65 minutes. So I'm going to take a few of the subs, because there were a lot of subs. There were 5 subs, and they're all on for a substantial amount of time. I'll run through the first 3, and I'll give you the last 2, Martin. I thought McGeady came on at half time. I thought he looked bright, but generally looked frustrated. There were some poor passes and poor crosses, or crosses that people just didn't get on the end of, and didn't make the right movement for. He does look like he's got a lot of intent, and it would be great to see him coming off the bench and being more effective in the playoffs, maybe. And I've given him a 5 because I just thought it was disappointing on occasions. Chris Maguire, quite similar, really. Came on 51, a few ineffective crosses, but he had a nice shot on 79 minutes. That was comfortable for the keeper. Did slow down play on occasions, but I thought he probably earned a 5.5. And Grant Leadbitter, I thought it was a bit anonymous after coming on, and the major contribution to the game was a deflection for their goal, and I've given him a 5 as well. Martin, I'll come to you for the last two, Winchester and O'Brien.
Yeah, Winchester, I think, performance-wise, he was much of a muchness with the midfielders that had preceded him, really. He doesn't pass. I actually like Winchester. I think he looks a good, elegant player, really. He can pass the ball around, but it's generally safe passing, isn't it? It's retaining possession rather than trying to create. But, he did well to get up into the box to get that rebound from the post to equalise, so I've given him a 6. And O'Brien, I think he had an early shot, didn't he, that he skied, and he ran around a bit, but he didn't really affect the game too much, so I've given him a 5.
Yeah, I think all really fair ratings. So, Mike, I'm going to give you first shot at your nomination for Man of the Match.
Yeah, bit of a difficult one today. But I've given to Jordan Jones based on the fact that I think he was just our most dangerous option on the pitch today. I think all our best play came through him. Obviously, he basically created the goal, and he probably had our best chance before that. So yeah, I think he was our best player today, and maybe a shout for Denver Hume, who I thought linked up well with him down that wing as well.
Yeah, and Martin, do you agree?
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Yep, you're going with Jones. Well, I'm going to put in a shout for Lyndon Gooch, because I thought he looked really bright, and most of what he did was pretty good quality. But just looking at the player ratings on the website, Denver Hume has been given Man of the Match by Chris. I think it was definitely one of those where it was hard to really pick out a standout performance, really. So rate the manager. It's a funny one. We've had the theory that it was a absolute perfect execution of a plan to finish 4th. And I know there are a lot of people on social media who are really, really frustrated with Johnson's performance in that game. So, Mike, what have you given Lee Johnson?
It's hard to judge. I mean, what do you say? I suppose he got a lot of the players' game time before the playoffs. He gave like 45 to Diamond, 45 to McGeady. I don't think he was really too worried about today. I think his head's in a couple of weeks' time. Obviously, our attack wasn't great, but overall, I'd give him a 6 based on the fact I don't really want to judge him too harshly or too positively based on this game today. Maybe in a couple of weeks' time, I can judge him better looking back in reflection over this. So 6 for me.
And Martin, your assessment?
Yeah, I think again, it's a really hard one to judge anything on really today. I think we've got the result that we needed, but it wasn't about the result. The only thing I would potentially not criticise him on, but question, is the team selection. I think to play so many players who pretty much nailed on to start in the playoffs mentally is a difficult thing to do. And I would have loved to have seen Maguire start. He's somebody who's got a point to prove. And if you put 2 or 3 more players in there who had a point to prove to stake a claim for the playoffs, you see a different performance that lifts everybody else up. So I would question him on that. But look, overall, I think it's, again, the context of everything going on, I think it's a really difficult one to judge. 6. Didn't impress us too much, but, it's a point. Doesn't matter.
I agree with that rating. I've gone for a 6 as well. Chris has gone for a 5. I think that probably reflects, it wasn't a great performance, but you can't really sniff at the fact that we finished in 4th and we're going to be playing Lincoln in 10 days' time. So we've got that to look forward to. I'm sure there'll be loads more content coming from ROKER Report on the website and the podcast in advance of the playoffs. A little bit of good news out of the ladies team over the last few days is that the club has submitted an application to be promoted to the Women's Championship. So there's still a fantastic chance that both of the Sunderland senior teams will be in the second tier next season. So thank you all for listening. Do give us a rating on your podcatcher of choice and share on social media, and we'll speak to you again soon. Sarah.
Where am I going? I don't know. Where am I heading? I ain't certain. All